In this video we're going to take a look at how we went about repairing the strengthener. This is the driver side offside wheel arch, and where it all joins in. So clearly someone's done a bit of welding along here, but basically it looks to me, we know on the other side when we have a look that this comes out, and so we've got a wheel arch that comes down here, or if it's the inner sill, this comes out. So we're going to try to, we've got a pretty good guide on this side about what it should look like. We're going to use that to try to fabricate the same on the other side, and then attach the strengthener and fix the strengthener at the back there. Here we are on the passenger side, and I'm taking a look at it. Now this looks like it's curved around at the bottom. Ah, no, maybe it's meant to be straight like that. Oh, okay, good. That would be more in line with the other side. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the other side, build this piece. And in theory they should be the reverse. So if I just build the inside bit so that it fits for the other side, I would then be able to bring it over here and fit it in here. Okay, and I could then weld onto that a flange, this, with a lip. Alright, and so I would have the flat bit along, then up, and a lip. I wouldn't have this flange and, well, whatever the arc on this side, but I could then decide if I want to then cut a piece along here to weld that on to match this with over, and then I can, and then I cut this off along here and along here. Now I know I can't weld it on this bit, but I can weld it along here, and I could spot weld it in here to fix that. So if I built that bit, I could then come over and fix the bottom here on the inner sill. Okay, and that should then leave me ready for trying to deal with this. And actually I probably would want to fix this bit at the same time as the inner sill, and clamp them in, because that needs to get welded in between the inner wheel arch. I don't know if I got that in. This bit here I would need to fix first, because that needs to be welded in between the inner wheel arch and the inner sill. Now, is there another way to do it? Because in some ways I'd like to fix this inner sill first. And that way I can then, when I take this off, I've got something to fix it against, and I can do the strengthener at the same time. Okay, well if I start on this I don't have to take anything apart until I've decided what to do next. So whilst I'm thinking, I'm going to build this piece and this, and we'll come back after that. So I'm using this side as a template, and it's fitting quite well all along here, and then it comes a bit off here at the bottom. Okay, and it's lined up at the top with this. Okay, and then all the way down it's lined up with that flange. So that's, I mean, apart from this, it looks okay. Alright, Then go over to the other side. And if we flip the template around and we line it up across the top here. Okay, so what we can see is, first of all, it's coming out. There we go, get it lined up. So it seems to be pushing it out more than what we have there currently, and comes down quite a bit more. So I know it's not perfect, but actually I don't think it's bad. So I've got to now decide if it's good enough, and I'm happy to go with it, or not. Interesting, actually. See, the other side doesn't have this lip. It just comes out straight, and I'm lining this up at the back of the lip. If I lined it up at the front, it comes out further still. Oh. So, what would we want? Would you want it to be slightly too small? Or slightly too big? Well, if I don't build this flange on it now, which I don't need to do yet, I just cut off along here, and if I build this on, don't build this on yet, then actually I would always be able to shave it back. So with that in mind, I think what I'll do is I'll leave it as I've got it. I'll build on a flange, probably without the lip. We'll cut this out. And so we then have this ready to weld into place here. Okay? So we'll mark it where it's going to come in and have that ready to go in. We won't be putting it in yet. What we might do is we will take this out. Oh, this sounds risky to me. We'll take it out. We'll have it ready to go. And then we'll look at doing this lower bit here and building something for that to fix that. And it might be easier, once this is out, it'll be easier to see what I need to do there. Yeah, so we're gonna add the flange on first. So that's it, fabricated. So the idea is that this will go in here, like that. Okay. So I can cut out along here and fit that, and that will then allow me to do this fix here for the inner sill. And before that comes in, I actually need to do this fix here for the strengthener. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to paint this up in some weld through primer, and we're going to have a little coffee break and then come back. Right, I'm not convinced I'm going to do this sensibly, but what I've decided to do is I'm going to mark across here. Be interesting if I need to cut out more, but I'm going to cut out this bit of the wheel arch. Okay, remember this is the inner and I haven't built the outside bit, but I'm going to cut this out so now I know where I'm cutting, and that will then hopefully, if I take this bit off, I'm going to then, the spot welds here, which I think must come in from the back. Oh, look at that, the paint's not dry. So the spot welds I think must be from the back that I need to drill them out. Although it'd be easy if I could do it from the front. Well, we'll take a wire wheel to it. We will try to cut it out. Okay, so we're going to just cut this out. And then we're going to look at fixing the lower flange, the lower bit of the inner sill. I've got a better view of this now. So we've got the piece out. So this flange comes off the inner sill. Needs to come down and around here. This is the strengthener. It needs to come in here and around. And then this piece will be on here. So we need to extend the inner sill, extend the flange, and this down and around. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll cut a piece that comes down, is the right shape, then I'll weld a flange onto it, and then I'll cut this out and weld that in, and that way I'll then have that piece in place with this piece ready to come up against it, like that. But this won't come in yet. Once I've done that piece, I'll then do a section of the inner sill to bring that out and in here. I think that all makes sense to me. I just hope it all works. I realised I know it's not a full outer sill, but I have an outer sill, and that actually helps me get the shape. So although I've done it from the other side, I've got a little gap here, but that would probably be fixed by coming in here a bit more. That's actually not bad. And what that's made me realise is I can fix this inner, fix this. I don't need to fit this bit, and I know I've cut this out now, but I don't need to actually fit this until I've got this on, and then I can adjust this to fit it, rather than trying to do it any other way. And I can then build the wheel arch from there, because the wheel arch, in fact, in reality is going to, well, it's going to come down, but I need to see where the sill finishes. But so with that in mind, and I know I just said I was going to do this first, I might not bother to fit this at the end of it until I'm putting the sill on. Okay, yeah, but I am going to have to fix the inner sill under here as well, because it's quite rusted there. So let's go back again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the other side as a template. I'm going to measure the flange and how far down it goes, and where all of this connects up to it. I will then make a piece so that I can replicate that and go from there. I've been doing some thinking and trying to look on the internet and the web and seeing if I can find anything. See, when I took this out, this was bent over, okay? So the whole way along it looked like the inner sill came down, out, and then around, and this strengthener was then folded across it. Alright, but I have to be honest, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because there is then no lip down, and if you look along here, okay, so given this was all rotten off, I wouldn't have seen it. Now when I've looked on the other side, I can't see really what's going on around here, but it's definitely some sort of lip going down. So my thought is that actually this does come across and then down. The inner sill comes up and is welded to it, but again it's coming down, and then I have this, and so it doesn't get folded up underneath. Now if that's the case, I should have about that much on the other side from the floor pan to the lip. So let's have a look. So here we are on the other side, and see we've got the floor pan. It goes flat across and then it comes down. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it should be. So that means that on the passenger side I need to weld it across. I need to weld in that flange again, which is just rusted off the whole way along. This distance from here to here is 21.5 centimetres, and the distance from here to here is 19 centimetres. Okay, so if we go over to our other side, so I've made this piece. It's the third piece I made. I started by cutting out a piece for that and a piece for the flange, then realised it would be easier to bend it rather than try to weld it, so I cut another piece, and the metal that I used was too thick, considerably thicker than what's already there, so I did a third piece. So we've got one there now that's the same thickness. This distance is 21.5. So I measure need now from here, top here, to 19.5, and I'll leave the flange, but I'll cut up and cut this off, and that will be the bottom of this bit here. Okay, so that will then extend this down to where it's meant to go, which hopefully is here. In fact, maybe that's the more sensible way to do it, is to look here and cut across and up. Yeah, maybe. And then, and then I need to bend it under, and of course build the lip in. I think actually, thinking about it, using that as a measure is probably not the best thing. I think what I'm better off doing is using this as the base of it, coming across and up. So if I cut it horizontally here, I can then cut that out, weld this in. I think that might make more sense. And then I can work out how to replace this bit at the bottom here. And then, oh, the fun of this, then I can work out about doing a flange at least part way along for the outer sill, and doing this as well. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll use this as the guide rather than the other side. It'll be easier to then trim this back if this is too long. So that's how we will do it. Before I cut that out, I realised I had this piece as well, which I could put back in. It's difficult holding everything in place, so this is a bit low because it should be up touching or thereabouts. But with that there, just up a little bit, that all looks about right. So So if we look at this side, you can see where I've marked to cut it. So if I cut that there, I can cut this out up, and at the relevant point where my patch fits, I can weld that in, and then I can do something about the bottom here and replacing this bit. Okay, and I can weld in the gap for the bottom and then a flange all the way along for where I will then attach. So I would weld it onto this. So I'm going to have to cut that back and get it decent metal. Okay, so a flange goes onto there, and then I can bring this in and down as well. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut it off here. And why am I nervous about that? Just means this is hanging loose. But this would be connected to this, so that would be okay. Yeah, so we're going to cut it off here. We're going to mark it at the top where I want to cut. And then we're going to cut this piece out and weld in the new piece. Ooh. Okay, so there's that little piece ready to be welded in. It's been cut back at the bottom, so I think that will go in okay. I didn't quite manage to get my cuts right, I've got a bit of a gap there, but I should be able to fill that up with weld. So I guess we'll have a go at that now and try to tack it in place first. Go along the outside, and then when we take this out we'll be able to weld it from the inside as well. So let's have a go. It's the 1st of June today. I can't remember if I showed you this bit that I'd welded on yesterday, this back piece, but we've put in this corner piece now, and you can see we've welded a flange a good distance along there. Just put a coat of zinc primer on there just to protect it. Oh, I need to grind this bit down, I noticed that. So it needs prettying up a bit, and there's a couple of pinholes which I need to work through just to clear up. But once that's done, then we'll get to what I'm meant to be doing, which is this strengthener piece. I'm trying to work out how to fix this strengthener piece. So I don't actually have anything that tells me what it should look like is the problem. Okay, so and I can't find a diagram on the web or anything. So what it seems to do is it seems to start here, curving in, and then goes flat from about here. So I know that this connects up because it was before, so that goes up like that. So I think it must go flat along here and then down as a flange. Okay, and then in here, if that's the case, if these appear to all come down like this, so they meet where it's flat or thereabouts. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make a piece that comes up, comes out this amount, and then comes up. Alright, and so it'll come up possibly around here somewhere, maybe a bit higher, like that. Alright, and so I'm going to end up cutting off these bits, and effectively I'll come down to here, then I'll go flat across, and I'm going to weld that in, I think. Alright, so that it's fitted on there, and then I'm going to build that structure up on top just as a separate piece. And so, you know, in effect we'll have a flat piece across the back and then this strengthener built on top of it. And so although the metal isn't bent, I would have thought if that's welded securely, that gives me the same strength. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that sounds like the most achievable for me. And then I'll have to do a little bit more over this side, because here it seems to come down, and there's a slight bend in here, and then another bend as it comes to here, so that connects up there. If it comes straight down, and then we've got a triangular piece coming in here and an inverse triangle coming there, or something like that. So I'm gonna try doing what I've said about this piece first and see how I go from there. So in order to do that, I think I'll take a wire wheel to all of this and see if we can clean it up a bit, because I can see a pinhole here. I think the rest of it is okay, but let's get a wire wheel to it and just clean it off, and then try to bend metal to that effect. If you want to see some really bad welding, take a look at this. I kept blowing holes in it, but we've got it kind of secure there now. So what I did is I decided I needed to somehow fix it against the other flange. So I thought the best place to do that would be here. So I cut a piece to weld in place and fix it to the flange, and so you can see how I put it there. And then I started welding that in, and boom, bang, pow, holes are galore. And also I'd misjudged how it went underneath here, and you can see what a huge gap I made. So it was holding it in just a bit on this weld at the end. So from that I then came across and made this piece. Actually, I'd already made this, I made it first. Okay, and I made it so that it actually came all the way up here. Alright, but in folding it and trying to get it to the right shape, and make sure I was cutting in the right place, what I did is I fitted it underneath, clamped them together, and then cut across. Okay, and so the cut along here and along here, and in theory along here, should have all matched up nicely. And for the most part they did. But when I started welding, you can see this just blew hole after hole. This was a bit better, and this was better still. So I just piled on the welds on the basis that I don't care too much what it looks like under here. I mean, I will smooth it down a bit, but I want it to be firm. And so now I need to decide what I'm going to do about these bits. And I can't decide right now if I want to leave them in place like that, and I need to think about what that would mean, because presumably that would mean that water could come in this side and get trapped between the outer sill and the strengthener, unless the outer sill has some holes in it, which I'm pretty certain it does. So the outer sill probably has drained holes for that to get out, whereas this actually doesn't. So I do hope the outer sill fits on here. I haven't tested that. Oh god, that would be great, wouldn't it? Anyway, so that's what I'm doing, and I think that's going to work, so at least I hope it is, but I'm going to have to come back and rethink this bit. So we're going to stop for today and come back out tomorrow. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of June, I think, and we're still working on this inner strengthener piece. So what I've done is I've built a piece which has a flange, curves out and then goes flat, okay, and you can see I've cut this piece back a bit. Right now it fits here, it overlaps a bit here. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to cut up to get a nice butt weld the whole way along, if I'll just do a bit of a lap weld at the top, which is what I think I might do. And then once I've done that, I need to get in here, and I'm going to at that point start cutting this bit of flange off, okay, and then I can weld along the bottom. So that's the idea. I haven't painted the back of it yet, so I need to get some zinc primer on there, so that I can then, well, so it's protected and I can move forward. So that's the next step with this. And there we have it in place. Ground down a little bit, still a bit of a lip there, but this is all going to be hidden, so that's okay. So this is really, considering how weak it was before, it's really good. Now I still got to do this bit. I've ripped the bit that I had done off, so I've got to do this bit at the front, which we'll look at tomorrow. Yeah, but that's seems to me, you know, not bad. I'm quite pleased with it so far. So whether or not you would be, I don't know, but it's strong and it's hidden, and that's what I need. And we've got this piece welded in place as well now. We've also welded all the plug welds and ground them down. So we've got a really nice firm piece here. There's a couple of places, so here we had slight overlap and here, and so I haven't ground it down as far in the middle. I did grind down, I found I was getting a couple of holes and a couple of, when I tried to re-weld it, some spots, but I think that's okay. We can see most of it, it's ground down nicely. So we are going to do some zinc primer on the bottom. We're going to do the top in hammerite, which is direct to rust, and then we're going to be done. And there we have it, painted. So that's the end of this episode. And remember, we've still got this piece that goes on here, goes on there. Alright, which we'll have to clamp in because I can see a bit of a gap, but we'll weld that in, and then we've got to rebuild the wheel arch over, but we'll come back and do that when we're dealing with this wheel arch and I have a better idea about how it's meant to look, because I think I'll end up having to buy the outer arch and then build the internal structure for it.